Let's start our first news with a matchup that is already getting people talking. Sean O'Malley has weighed in on a potential fight between Usman Nurmagomedov and Paddy Pimblett, and his prediction might surprise some fans. When the matchup came up, Sean admitted that he would probably lean toward Usman. He wasn't completely certain though, because Paddy has a reputation for making people look wrong when they underestimate him. Usman versus Paddy? I probably pick Usman, Sean said, while also admitting that Paddy surprises him all the time. And that is what makes this potential matchup so interesting. On paper, Usman brings a highly technical skill set, excellent grappling, and the kind of composure that can make life extremely difficult for opponents. His ability to control the pace and dictate where the fight takes place could be a major factor. But Paddy is not someone Sean is willing to count out. The size question also came up during the discussion. Sean was asked who would actually be the bigger fighter between the two, and after thinking about it, he leaned toward Paddy. Probably Paddy, Sean said. However, he quickly added that the two are likely closer in size than people might expect. Sean also pointed out that Usman is a big fighter himself, which could make the physical matchup much more competitive. That could be one of the most important details if this fight ever happens. Paddy's size and physicality could create problems, while Usman's technical ability and grappling could give him the tools to neutralize those advantages. For now, Sean's prediction is clear. He would probably pick Usman, but he is not taking Paddy lightly. And considering how often Paddy has surprised people, that hesitation could be very important. Move on to another news. And this time, the discussion is about Islam Makhachev's place among the greatest fighters in MMA history. Javier Mendez believes that a victory over Ian Garry at UFC 330 could push Islam directly into the GOAT conversation. The debate over the greatest fighter of all time has always divided MMA fans, with different generations producing their own legendary champions. But according to Mendez, Islam is getting very close to that level. Speaking about the upcoming matchup, Mendez explained that the sky is the limit for Islam. In his view, another impressive victory over a dangerous opponent like Ian Garry could make it increasingly difficult to keep Islam out of the greatest of all time discussion. Mendez believes that if Islam gets past Garry and then adds another major victory afterward, there may eventually be very little left to argue. He also pointed to the records Islam has already built throughout his career. However, Mendez was careful not to treat the upcoming fight as a guaranteed victory. He acknowledged that Ian Garry is a tough opponent and that nothing in MMA is ever certain. Still, Mendez made it clear that he expects Islam to win, and he even predicted that Islam could dominate the fight. If that prediction becomes reality, Mendez believes the conversation around Islam will change dramatically. Instead of simply being viewed as one of the best fighters of his generation, he could become a legitimate candidate for the greatest fighter in MMA history. And that distinction matters. Winning alone is not enough to enter the GOAT conversation. The manner of victory, the quality of opponents, the records, and the consistency all play a role. For Mendez, a dominant performance against Ian Garry on August 15th could provide another major piece of evidence. If Islam delivers the kind of performance his coach expects, the GOAT debate could become much harder to ignore. Move on to another news, because Ilia's manager, Malki Kawa, has fired back at Ali Abdelaziz after Ali made some very confident claims about Usman Nurmagomedov and Ilia. The controversy started when Ali suggested that Usman could make Ilia quit if the two ever fought. Ali went even further, claiming that Usman would be a nightmare matchup for several top fighters, including Paddy Pimblett, Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, and even Arman. According to Ali, Usman's wrestling and grappling would simply be too much for most of these fighters. He predicted that Usman could stop Paddy in under 2 rounds, and even said he could make him quit. He also dismissed the idea of Charles being able to comfortably strike with Usman or take him down. But Malki Kawa was not having any of it. In a heated response, Ilia's manager criticized Ali for constantly talking up his own clients and predicting that they would beat everyone in the division. Kawa made his position crystal clear. He still considers Ilia the #1 fighter in the world. According to Kawa, Ilia simply had a bad night in his fight against Justin Gaethje. He acknowledged that Gaethje performed well, but insisted that the result does not change his opinion about Ilia's ability. And Kawa went even further, claiming that if Ilia and Gaethje fought again, Ilia would beat him decisively. He also warned that Ilia is coming back, and when he does, fans will see a completely different performance. Kawa named several elite fighters, including Paddy, Islam, Usman, and Gaethje, and said it doesn't matter who steps in front of Ilia or when the fight happens. In his view, Ilia will deliver a masterclass. The manager also accused Ali of potentially avoiding certain matchups behind the scenes while publicly claiming that his fighters would win. Kawa's message was simple: stop hyping up every fighter and underestimating Ilia. Whether fans agree with him or not, the confidence is impossible to miss. Kawa clearly believes Ilia remains at the very top of the sport, and he's betting that the former champion's comeback will prove it. For now, the war of words between the two sides has only made these potential matchups even more interesting. Move on to another news, and this time, Georges St-Pierre has responded to Conor McGregor following Conor's latest update about his recovery from knee surgery. Conor recently shared a message with fans, announcing that his surgery had been successful and that he was officially on the road to recovery. He made it clear that the procedure was just another step in his journey and insisted that his mindset remains as strong as ever. After undergoing surgery, Conor said that his knee had been repaired and that he was ready to begin the rehabilitation process. The message immediately caught the attention of MMA fans, especially because questions about his future and a potential return have continued to circulate. Georges St-Pierre then showed his support by reposting a video featuring Dominick Cruz, who famously returned from multiple ACL injuries and eventually regained the UFC Bantamweight Championship. GSP has also dealt with serious knee injuries during his career, and despite those setbacks, he managed to return at an elite level. The footage showed just how impressive Cruz's movement remained, even after everything he had gone through. After sharing the video, Georges kept his message simple, writing, "Let's go, Conor." Dominick Cruz also reposted the same footage, adding another layer to the story. So, while Conor still has a long road ahead of him, the support from legendary fighters like Georges St-Pierre and Dominick Cruz is certainly encouraging. And now, moving on to Ilia. Earlier this week, footage surfaced online showing Ilia partying in Ibiza, which led to a wave of online speculation and jokes about his personal life. However, there was no verified basis for the more serious claims being made by some fans, and the situation quickly became another social media controversy. Ilia's manager, Malki Kawa, decided to have some fun with the situation while appearing alongside Ilia. During the video, Kawa jokingly tried to distance Ilia from the footage, repeatedly insisting that Ilia was not actually the person shown in the clip. "Can somebody please tell him that I'm not in that video?" Kawa joked. The exchange quickly turned into a light-hearted moment, with Kawa continuing to tease Ilia about the viral footage. Rather than taking the online speculation seriously, the two appeared to treat the entire situation as a joke. It is another example of how quickly MMA fighters can become the center of social media attention, even when the story has nothing to do with what happens inside the cage. Move on to another news, because Joe Rogan has come out strongly in defense of Tom Aspinall, following the controversial ending of his fight against Cyril Gane. After the fight, some fans accused Aspinall of exaggerating the severity of his eye injury or finding a way out of a difficult situation. But Rogan completely rejected that idea, arguing that Aspinall was genuinely dealt a bad hand. During a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, with longtime Aspinall friend Rico Verhoeven as a guest, the discussion turned toward what happened inside the octagon. Verhoeven explained that he has known and trained with Aspinall for nearly a decade. Rogan then made his feelings very clear, saying that Aspinall was really screwed over in that fight. According to Rogan, the criticism Aspinall received for stopping the fight because of the eye pokes was extremely frustrating. Rogan pointed out that Aspinall was competing in a heavyweight title fight and was dealing with an eye injury that seriously affected his vision. He also revealed that Aspinall has undergone 2 eye surgeries since the incident. For Rogan, there was simply no reason to believe that Aspinall would intentionally quit because he was struggling. He described Aspinall as one of the nicest people in the sport and someone who works incredibly hard. More importantly, Rogan emphasized that Aspinall simply does not have the personality to fake an injury or deliberately find a way out of a fight. Verhoeven agreed completely. He explained that he understands why some fans questioned the decision. Cyril Gane had looked strong early in the fight, and some people believed Aspinall might have been affected by the pressure or simply decided that he didn't want to continue. But Verhoeven insisted that this theory makes no sense when you understand Aspinall as a person and as a fighter. The eye poke was not minor. Rogan emphasized that Gane's finger went deep into Aspinall's eye, creating a legitimate injury that affected his ability to see. That changes everything. Regardless of what fans thought about the fight's outcome, Rogan and Verhoeven believe Aspinall had a completely legitimate reason to stop. And with 2 eye surgeries already behind him, the controversy looks very different when viewed from the perspective of the damage he actually suffered. Move on to another news. Because Javier Mendez believes Usman Nurmagomedov may not receive an immediate UFC lightweight title shot if he eventually signs with the promotion. According to Mendez, giving Usman an instant title opportunity would create a major problem for the UFC. If Usman were to enter the organization and immediately defeat the champion, it could essentially prove that the PFL had been home to one of the best lightweight fighters in the world. Mendez believes the UFC would never want to give its competitors that kind of credibility. In his view, the promotion would rather have Usman prove himself first, instead of risking a situation where an outside organization could claim that its champion was actually the best fighter in the division. So instead of immediately fighting for the title, Mendez has another matchup in mind. His preferred opponent is Paddy Pimblett. Mendez believes Paddy would be the perfect introduction for Usman to a massive UFC audience. The matchup would attract fans from both sides, create plenty of attention, and give Usman an opportunity to establish himself inside the UFC. Mendez also joked about Paddy bringing his famous baddies to the event, making it clear that he expects the fight to generate plenty of entertainment outside the octagon as well. But beyond the potential matchup, Mendez spoke incredibly highly of Usman as a fighter. He recalled first hearing about Usman from Khabib when Usman was still a young kid. Khabib told him that his cousin, Umar's younger brother, was going to become something special. When Mendez eventually trained with Usman himself, he realized that the prediction was correct. Mendez went as far as calling Usman the greatest fighter-athlete he has ever trained. He made an important distinction, though. When it comes purely to athletic ability, he believes Herschel Walker deserves that recognition. But when athletic ability and fighting ability are combined, Mendez believes Usman stands above everyone he has personally trained. And what makes Usman so special, according to Mendez, is that he possesses abilities that simply cannot be taught. Move on to another news. Because Dustin Poirier and Jorge Masvidal recently opened up about some of the wildest crowds they have ever experienced during their fighting careers. During an appearance on the Deep Water Show, the two fighters, along with Dean Thomas and Chris Weidman, discussed the most memorable atmospheres they had ever competed in. When Jorge Masvidal was asked about the craziest crowd he had fought in front of, he immediately mentioned the backyard fighting scene in Miami. For Masvidal, those events had an energy that was completely different from a traditional arena. The crowds were extremely passionate, loud, and unpredictable, creating an atmosphere that fighters could feel from the moment they walked out. Dustin Poirier then brought up his fight against Kelvin Gastelum at the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island. That fight was particularly special because it was the first UFC main event ever held on Long Island. Poirier remembered the crowd going absolutely crazy throughout the night. When he eventually got the victory, the reaction was so intense that Poirier said it felt almost like he had won a world title. He even admitted that he had not fully realized he was coming into the fight on a 3-fight losing streak, making the victory and the crowd reaction even more memorable. Poirier also talked about another obvious source of unbelievable crowds: fighting Conor. According to Dustin, whenever you fight Conor, huge numbers of Irish fans travel to support him. The atmosphere starts building long before the actual fight, with fans making their presence felt at press conferences, weigh-ins, and throughout fight week. Poirier explained that all 3 of his fights against Conor featured some of the craziest crowds he had ever experienced. Then the conversation turned to another memorable location: Hawaii. One of the fighters recalled competing there against Max Holloway's uncle, which immediately surprised everyone in the conversation. The Hawaiian crowd was known for being extremely passionate, making the experience unforgettable. For fighters, the crowd can become part of the fight itself. And these stories show just how much a crazy atmosphere can change the feeling of an entire event.